Hey everybody. So let's talk about Mega Man slash Mighty Number 9. I have not played Mighty Number 9 yet. I have seen it advertised on the PlayStation Network. I didn't kickstart it or anything like that. Just to give you some preference, in case nobody's fully aware of this, if you haven't watched my videos, if you haven't watched any of my Let's Plays, I am a fan of classic Mega Man. Hell, I grew up playing a huge majority of Mega Man 2 and a lot of that original series. I did have a falling out with the series by about like 4 or 5 because it just felt like it was just getting a little too silly to me. Mostly because of, and this is going to sound stupid, but from my perspective, like even as a child, I thought the robots and all their different names were just getting really silly. And and I just wasn't enjoying it as much as I was. Until, of course, Mega Man X came out, and I loved X. It was a great return, and I felt that X made Mega Man a little bit more adult and a little bit more serious. Not to a point where it's grim dark or anything stupid like that. Just that it took itself a bit more seriously and actually wanted to tell a really cool semi-adult story. And of course, you have the introduction of Zero and everything, and and it was just a really overall good game that brought something new to the series. I briefly remember X2 and 3, but not being overly thrilled by them. X4, I like gameplay-wise, but the story and voice acting is absolutely terrible. And I didn't play the other ones. I know that I heard that Mega Man X7 was bad. I've heard that and I've seen that. It looks pretty bad. And now with Mighty Number 9, and also I didn't play the Legends. I really didn't have any interest. And Mega Man, to me, I mean, I'll always love classic Mega Man. I mean, 2 and X are by far my favorites. Other than that, I really stopped caring a long time ago. And Mighty Number 9, I didn't have much interest in, but I mean, I certainly wasn't opposed to it. Like, oh, like, fuck Mega Man, fuck. No, if you want that, that's your thing. If I don't have any interest in it, I'm not going to play it, not going to watch it. I'm not going to bitch and moan about it, but now there is so much controversy around it and surrounding it that it's just insane. And that the game, as it's come out, has been received with a great big meh. And yeah, that's pretty surprising. It's funny too, because it reminds me how a couple of years ago on Spill, somebody, I forget who it was, but it was somebody who I was actually kind of friends with on Spill, and he posted a brief article talking about the canceled Mega Man game that was being made by Retro. At least I think that was their name. It was the company that made the Metroid Prime series, and they apparently were working on a new Mega Man game. And they were going with the Metroid Prime style where it was first person, and this was more gritty and a bit more serious. And I mean, they had like a few minutes of gameplay, that they showed in the blog, which I liked what I saw. I did a vlog about it back then, and made me really want to see it, and actually got me excited about it. And it was kind of sad to actually read it in the blog that the game had been canceled, and a lot of the big majority of the comments were all saying, yeah, because this game looks like shit anyway, and first-person games are stupid to begin with, and I just can't stand that shit. Mostly, I just can't stand the whole idea of just whitewashing an entire genre of any kind of game, whether it's a first-person shooter or whether it's, just that style, because everybody thinks, oh, well, if it's that style, then it's stupid because the story is stupid and non-existent. When Metroid Prime was what made the Metroid series very popular for a long time. So much so that it got a freaking trilogy out of it. And, damn, I'm trying to remember the name of that game. The parkour free running game. There was another one that just came out. Mirror's Edge, thank you. While it wasn't a huge success, but it was, you know, it did certainly have its fans. I didn't play it until years later, but it, you know, I mean, it's a pretty good game. You know, I just don't understand. I mean, why do you hate the idea of a first-person game? And I rather like the idea of Mega Man, you know, being a little bit more adult, being more grown up, not being so ridiculously silly with characters like Spring Man and stuff like that. You know, not that there's, you know, not any room for being silly. It's just that just, you know, it just tends to, it's like, to me, it just feels a bit too childish. And, you know, and maybe it was going to be a bit too grimdark, because I understand that there were also alternate clips where you heard Mega Man talk, and evidently it was maybe worse or about the same equivalent as when he talked in Mega Man X4, where his voice... What was it? His voice always bad? I remember, like, there was a... Well, I mean, I remember from the short-lived cartoon series that his voice was pretty obnoxious in there. It's just... You know, and I mean, I wouldn't mind. Hell, I would love if there was a return to form proper Mega Man game that was good. And I mean, there was a lot of talk about 9, you know, being really good. You know, not Mighty Number 9, but Mega Man 9. That was made by Capcom like a couple of years ago. 9 and 10. I heard that 9 was good. I really couldn't get into it, to be perfectly honest. I think I played a demo of it. I don't remember, to be perfectly honest. But I remember that I played it briefly, and I really couldn't get into it, and so I had no interest in 10. But, you know, I would love a sort of next-gen version of Mega Man if it was just kept as a side-scroller. This whole Mighty Number 9 thing, I mean, I don't think I'll play it, because it certainly doesn't seem like something I'd be interested in. I would be willing to take a crack at it, maybe when it's, you know, a bit lower in price. I mean, it's only like $15, $19 right now, but from what I've heard, doesn't sound like an amount of money I'd like to spend on it, to be perfectly honest, when there are other better things I could be playing. And there's also a lot of outcry online, as there usually is, of people talking about how, like, oh, well, because of this just means that all Kickstarter games are bullshit and that you shouldn't fund them, and, you know, and I'll never fund them again. You know, I've had a few small burns of games on Kickstarter. Hell, I was really interested in the successor to Eternal Darkness, so much so that I funded that Kickstarter twice. At least the first time it failed, I did get my money back. Second time, I didn't. But hell, I mean, you know, and a lot of people have said this, I am very interested in Bloodstained, you know, being a Castlevania fan, and of course, fan of Symphony of the Night. So I'm very interested in that. I mean, hell, I gave him $60 for it, so I'm getting a copy when that comes out. Other than that, there aren't a whole lot of other Kickstarter games. I know I gave to the Shadowrun game that came out like some odd years ago, but I heard that was a little bit of a disappointment. And I mean, I enjoyed what I played, but for me, man, well, I mean, it's also the fact too that it's on the PC, so I really can't play it that much anymore because my computer is not very good about playing games anymore. And it's never coming to consoles, which sucks. It's just that at the same time, man, I hope that if that company ever gets the chance to make another Shadowrun game, please let it be more based around the Sega Genesis version. And maybe make it a little bit more modern. I don't know. but also have it on consoles, you know, so I can play it, please. That may or may not happen. I don't know, but either way, it's just kind of disappointing. But Mighty Number 9, I wasn't that interested when I first heard about it. And the fact that that's the name you're going with is Mighty Number 9, you couldn't be a little bit more creative than that. You know, and maybe they just wanted to, you know, keep it to that silly route, but I don't know. And now it's come out, and it's a disappointment. It's a gigantic disappointment, and that's very sad. So, yeah, I don't know if I will play it. I suppose I could, you know, just to get my perspective or my opinion on it, if anybody would care to hear. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, this has been me just talking about that for the most part. I would just say, for the most part, you know, about this whole thing, like, don't bash on Kickstarter, because there have been a lot of failures, but there's also been a lot of great stuff, you know, that has come out of Kickstarter. And, you know, just be wary about what you fund, you know, and don't be afraid, you know, to do research. And if you're skeptic, you know, don't give them money if you got, you know, fears or doubts about it. You know, just be sure about what you're giving your money to. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves.